All right. We're from JLL, and we'll be covering a bit of tourism, a bit of HMA surveys that we have done. Kun On, the Queen, will be covering on investment side of the hotel market. So let's start. First of all, a bit on tourism market. This is what we have mapped according to what is happening in terms of the aircraft arrivals to Thailand last year. You can see that the gap has narrowed compared to pre-COVID. It starts to recover, but it's not back to normal just yet. We are getting there. A few flights have been added to many destinations in Thailand, as you may have heard, for many airlines, but it's not entirely back. In terms of the numbers of tourist arrivals, the most updated official number was as of November, so we were at around 32 million. Unofficial number, as announced by the government, we're roughly at 35.5 compared to our 40 back in the pre-COVID days. So we're getting there. Next year, this year, the government is targeting around 38 to 40 million. There will be a lot of improvement that needs to be done, whether it's infrastructure, promotion, and marketing on the country itself, but we should be there. In terms of the source market that we were looking at, mainland Chinese has returned to as our biggest market as of last year, but in terms of the magnitude, it's still lagging behind from what we used to have. We used to have them dominating the market of over 30%. Now we're at only roughly 20% of the entire tourism market. This is basically the plan from the government on what they've mentioned that they want to do by 2028, which is to achieve 50 million tourist arrivals. And yes, the word Amazing Thailand is back. We have not heard this word for maybe 2 or 3 years, or even more. But they're bringing it back this year as an Amazing Thailand Grand Tourism Year for this year. What are we doing to get to that level? Of course, domestic tourism promotion, which was gone last year, is back this year again. เราเที่ยวด้วยกัน or whatnot. These campaigns are being brought back by the government. More emphasis on Chinese tourists, our key market, and also to commemorate the relationship that we have with them for 50 years now. Other than that, we have other markets like the quality leisure that we have always been trying to target the higher spending. Outdoor activities, outdoor experience, the INKs, the LGBTs. These are the targets that we want to create more revenue from. Other than that, we have the secondary locations that the government is trying to promote, such as Chiang Rai, Udon Thani, and Nakhon Si Thammarat. These are the secondary cities, but of course, one of the things that is still lagging behind for these locations mostly is the infrastructure. So we need to see some more improvement on that. And the other musts are what we're trying to promote. So I won't go into detail on that, but it's the usual, tourism play that we have been promoting. I just want to mention a bit on the surveys that we have done on the hotel management agreement that we did last year, based on, as you can see the numbers here, on 145 hotel management agreement in Asia Pacific that we have looked at between 2018 and 2023. And also this was done together with Baker McKenzie. So thank you to them as well. Some key takeaways that I would just want to mention quickly is, first of all, the base and incentive fee. The base fee seems to be decreasing across the market. At the same time, incentive fee is more on a sliding scale, which means it's more on a tier level rather than fixed. The other thing that we have seen, which is very interesting, is the sales and marketing fee. We have noticed that in 2014, the proportion of sales and marketing fee based on room revenue that's more than 3% was around 42% of the HMA that we have collected. It was dropped to 15%, now it's back to 47%. But what's more interesting is the one at the bottom where it says proportion of sales and marketing fees on total revenue above 3%. Before, we have never seen this clause being based on total revenue. It's usually based on the room revenue. But as F&B and other revenue become more important, that's where we put more emphasis on sales and marketing based on total revenue instead. So it went from 0% 10 years ago to 22% of the HMA that we have seen. Other key points would be on the key money that we have seen more prevalent on the upper upscale and upscale market, and other key trends such as the growth in viable operators that is coming up to the market, which kind of force the operators to adapt as well. Sustainability is also one of the big key issues that will become more and more important, not just in terms of investment, but also in the HMAs. And the other thing that we have seen more owners talked about is termination, that they are looking at in more granular level going forward for more flexibility. And for the last 30 seconds, I think just want to give you a bit of highlight on this one. It's a bit to read, but what we are seeing is a more positive outlook in 2025. Labor and talent is still a problem across the market. F&B will become more important. MICE and wedding, it will improve this year from what we have talked to the operator and the owners. CapEx, where would they invest in terms of owners and operator? They're looking at technology upgrade, M&E improvement, and also sustainability enhancement on their hotels. And sustainability, as I mentioned, will become more and more key going forward, so look into that. I'll pass it on here to talk about the hotel investment market.
Thank you. So on to the investment side, my CEO told me to come up here and drop my mic. I'm not going to do that. But basically, 2024 is definitely our biggest year yet. We had 21.4 billion baht worth of transaction, 19 properties, 15 deals, because some of the deals are portfolio sale. That's totaling around 4,300 keys. So if you look, we have broken many records, one of that being the largest standalone single asset ever, which is the Hyatt Regency on Sukhumvit Road. That's traded at the end of October to a private investor at around 5 billion Thai baht. We also had the largest portfolio sale at around 1,800 rooms, which is the Ascott portfolio. We also have a number of other transactions we'll talk about later, which bring the average deal size up 40% from 1 billion to around 1.4 billion. So just sort of breaking it down, these are most of the deals that happened last year. We saw a much greater depth in terms of investment for the market. So if you look at Bangkok leading the way at number one, the total transaction volume at around 50%. Second follow is not surprising, is Phuket, which is at 23%, followed by Chiang Mai at 13%. I think this is very, very new for the market. Usually third place will be taken by Samui. Chiang Mai saw two notable transactions, which is one, the Dara Tevi resort, which was bought by the original owner through an auction from the legal execution department at over 2 billion Thai baht. The other one is Boutique Corporation selling a stake sale to a private investor of their Ibis Chiang Mai in Nimman. So if you look at this one, right, we also see a further shift into leasehold transaction. We believe that as the market matures, you'll see more and more leasehold transaction in the market. Notably, the leasehold transaction are going out of core Bangkok location. So this year we did a transaction with Urban Hospitality Group where they lease out a 30-year leasehold right from a private family on a hotel called Gamani Palace in Pratipat, which is north of Morshit. So that's new. And then the other one is also the Ascott Pattaya, the Somerset Pattaya, which is part of the portfolio that was sold. That is 26-year lease when it was transacted. The other interesting point about last year is also the fact that people are diversifying. We are seeing a lot more stake sale, not only the Ibis Chiang Mai transaction, but also the Chromo by Curio Collection by Hilton, that SC Asset sold almost half of their stake in that project to a Japanese developer. Additionally, we saw SC Asset acting on the other side, where they acquired the Standard Pattaya from Syntec Corporation. Not only these two are stake sale, but they're also all leasehold transaction as well. So why is Thailand so attractive? If you look on the right-hand side here, one of the main reasons we graph is actually the regional yield over interest rate spread that you'll see around the region. You'll see here that Thailand is actually one of the only few destinations that are offering positive spread outside of select market in Malaysia, the Maldives, and India, and definitely Japan. So Bangkok, because of Bangkok being a more strategic location, the yield spread between interest rate is getting narrower. But then when you look at Phuket and Samui, Phuket is beating Samui by a little because of the rising performance that Kun Jasper has been talking about. But regionally speaking, it doesn't mean that the right-hand side has no transaction at all. We are still seeing few transactions as investors are focused more on asset appreciation as well as value add play on those negative spread. So they think that the appreciation in the value will still beat the market. So what's in store for 2025? We are predicting a similar, sort of not as active as last year, but still quite active. We are aware of 30 billion baht worth of assets being put to market at the moment, so there are definitely more sellers. However, these sellers, they're capitalizing on the improvement of performance, especially in Bangkok and Phuket, to increase the valuation, because last year we still see a gap in certain transactions. They're also leveraging the interest rate that hopefully will come down over the next 3 to 6 months. In terms of buyers, I don't think it's as active as the sellers. We're speaking to new buyers every day, but these buyers, some are speculative and they're still exploring the market and probably will not buy in the near future. And these buyers, according to our investor sentiment survey, they're still focused on opportunistic and value add deals. Not core deals like the high regency where you get consistent cash flow when you buy in, right? They're looking to buy, invest more money, and then exit at a higher valuation. In terms of destination, nothing has really changed, really. So people are still focusing on number one, definitely Bangkok, and then number two being Phuket, and then sort of Samui has become third place given what you have seen in Bangkok and Phuket in the last 18 months. So our prediction for this year, we're probably looking at around 13 billion Thai baht worth of transaction. So that's sort of 10-15% above the 10-year average. And that's it before the chicken came.